Where the hell am I? Who are you? Wait, that's a YouTube audience. Am I making a video? Oh my gosh, I'm making a video. Greetings, brave adventurers. My name is FoxyBard, and apparently I'm making videos again. Oh, that's good to know. And oh, this is a script. Well, crap, hang on, I guess I have 2 stories for you today. Look at that. Wow, amazing. Well, don't be shy, come here, have a seat around the fire, and we'll dig into these tales of role-playing. Wait, I said that wrong. Well, grab yourself a seat around the fire, and we'll dig into these tales of role-playing. Both stories today are from the subreddit r/RPG horror stories, and our first one is by the user That Redheaded Guy 1, and it's entitled Creepy DM Uses D&D to Explore Their Polyamory, or How to Make Your Entire Party Uncomfortable. Well, that's off to a great start. I'm gonna preface this with polyamory is great if it works for you and everyone involved consents to it. More power to you. But I somehow think that that's not entirely what's gonna happen here. Tale start. So a few years ago, I met this group at our local comic shop. I started DMing for 3 of us, and eventually we grew to a party of 8. Of those 8, the bard's spouse was brought into the fold and expressed interest in DMing for the next campaign. Seeing as I needed time to write for the next one, and a break after running a 3-year campaign, I didn't think there would be any harm. Wow, 8 people? That's a lot. I personally wouldn't run a group that big. It would just be impossible to balance encounters. Problem DM, PDM, brings in one girl from another group under the guise of gaining experience in D&D. I'll admit I'm a bit naive, and I didn't think anything of it. I would do something similar to introduce new players to the game. However, I was missing vital subtext. Throughout the campaign, PDM gives special treatment to New Girl. Items, rerolls, stuff other players would never be allowed to get away with. Yep, thinking that special treatment in D&D is gonna get you the girl. Never seen that before. There were quite a few scenes of flirtatious dialogue, hand-holding, etc. between PDM and New Girl out of character, and we were all starting to take notice. PDM's spouse, the bard, explained that they are in an open marriage, which to each their own. However, it was super problematic that he was in his 30s, and she was a naive 19-year-old girl. There it is. It was well known at this point that his spouse did not approve, yet he continued. There it is. There's the part where I mentioned, as long as everyone is consenting, and it sounds like someone isn't. By the time I realized the full scope of the situation, we were ready to have a chat with them about it. This all came to a head when he blatantly asked her out, just the 2 of them, one night after a session, to which she simply and firmly responded with, "Ew. Good job." Since then, PDM has stopped pursuing her in any kind of romantic sense as far as I know. Though the problem seems to have resolved itself, I will be keeping a close eye on PDM from now on, especially when I take the DM seat back. Tale end. That was, actually, much more mild than I was expecting, judging by the title, but it was still, like, not okay. I know that age differences are one thing and whatever, and that so long as everyone involved is consenting adults, people can do what they want. That is true, and that remains true. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna raise an eyebrow at a dude in his 30s trying to get with a 19-year-old. That is a bit much. The differences in life experience at the 2 points in their lives that they're at is so drastic that there isn't really going to be a good way for her to be remotely on the same kind of level that he is, and he's going to naturally hold a lot of influence and power over her, and that can be potentially not really good. In fact, most of the time it ends up not really good. Either way, he should have listened to his spouse, who didn't approve. And that's the real problem. One of the other people in his relationship didn't consent, so he should have just stopped. At least he stopped when the girl said no. That's a plus. All in all, probably the best result we could have asked for, given the setup and everything going on. Yeah, not so bad. Second story, let's go. Our second tale comes to us from the user Peach Cobblers. I love Peach Cobbler. Aww. And is entitled The Tale of the Blank Character Sheet. There's a couple of ways this could go. Go ahead and type out your prediction in the comments, and then let me know if you were right afterwards. I want to see who gets it. I didn't get it when I read the title. Well, let's get into it. Tale start. Hi everyone, let me tell you a tale. The tale of the blank character sheet. This happened a few years ago, and I don't think anyone involved was really all that terrible, but it is a funny story, and I think y'all might enjoy it. This was a pre-written module, which one is not really important, and the only real character of note to the story is the Warlock. The Warlock in this campaign always seemed pretty passive to me, in that for basically the whole campaign, they never used a single spell, subclass ability, pact boon, or eldritch invocation aside from agonizing blast. In combat, they only ever used eldritch blast, but I figured that they just wanted to play their Warlock that way, and I didn't try to play their character for them. There is the trope that Warlocks are just eldritch blast vending machines for a reason. We were almost done with the campaign at a certain point, after a few months, at level 7 out of 8 at the end of the campaign, and we were in a very difficult combat encounter. Campaign, regardless of system, go longer than level 9 challenge. Difficulty, impossible. The Warlock said something along the lines of, "Well, I can't do anything else, so I'll do Eldritch Blast," on their turn. This is where the Warlock started to fall apart a bit. In passing, I said, "You could cast a spell if you don't want to use Eldritch Blast." There was some mumbling from the Warlock, and a long pause, and they tried to cast Wall of Flame, in a way that would involve friendly fire on our party. After the DM explained that, the Warlock changed the placement of the Wall of Fire instead. Well, that's not bad, that's a spell. Messed up the targeting, but it's still a spell. Later in the encounter, people were making death saves, and the Warlock said on their turn something like, "I wish I could help, but all I really have is Eldritch Blast." They were playing a Celestial Warlock, and having played one before, I mentioned that they could use their first level ability to heal some of the characters that were down if they wanted to, as a bonus action. Cue some more mumbling, and then a single roll of 1d6, which is not how the ability necessarily works, and the Warlock says, "Okay, player X, you get 4 hit points, and I just used my second spell slot, so I can't use that again." The first level Celestial Warlock ability does not require the use of a spell slot. It has its own resource, and at level 7, the Warlock could have used it 7 more times. I tried to explain, without being a rules lawyer, that wasn't how the ability worked, but stopped after the Warlock started ranting about how complicated keeping track of all the spells and abilities were. They're not that bad. That's why you write them down. One of the other players tried to suggest looking at their character sheet on Roll20, where the spells were listed and that the Charactermancer can build it for them, and the Warlock got even more heated about it. The other player backed off and said, Okay, that's fine. I was just suggesting it." At this point, the DM speaks up and says that they just took a look at the Warlock's character sheet on Roll20. And it is completely blank. the only thing on there is the HP and the Eldritch Blast cantrip. And there it is. Who got it right? Let me know. We are all a bit silent for a moment, and the DM steps away for a break, clearly exasperated. The rest of the session went by a bit awkwardly, and we really only had 1 or 2 sessions left in the campaign, so this was kind of swept under the rug for the rest of the campaign until it was over. The Warlock was not a new player, and had played D&D before. This was also not their first campaign on Roll20. I still don't really know why they didn't use Roll20 or ask for help with it. Use D&D Beyond, some other online character sheet creator, or even a physical character sheet. But I still remember how dispirited the DM sounded when they said to the group that the Warlock's character sheet was blank. After the campaign was over, the DM did not invite the Warlock back to the next campaign. Probably the right call. Definitely the right call. As a DM, I understood the feelings that our DM had. I just felt so bad for our DM to put all the effort into running the campaign and the prep and the story for one of the players to have a completely blank character sheet and not make any attempts to learn how their class works. I don't entirely have the Warlock's side of the story, but it just felt disrespectful. Anyway, it's not as bad as some of the other ones on here, and I hope that the Warlock is having fun playing D&D, or in general is doing well. They weren't a bad person at all. I liked them as a person, and I actually enjoyed playing with them most of the time. But I think at a bare minimum, you need to fill out a character sheet if you want to play D&D. Tail end, and I agree with that last point. Though I will say, talk to your other players if you're having trouble. If there's something you can't do or can't figure out or don't have the time to do, talk to your DM, talk to the other players. People are always going to be willing to help you in getting everything written down and laid out in a way you can understand so that you can play your character to the best of your ability. Because that's kind of what I think was the case here. It sounded like the Warlock had experience doing all of this before. They just had something going on in their life that messed them up this time, and they probably needed help, but they needed to ask for it. And that's where their issue was. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, please don't be afraid to ask your fellow players or your DM for some help. Especially your DM will absolutely be willing to help you along, get you to the point where you're ready to go. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised this didn't happen in Session 0. Like, every Session 0 I've ever run, of every system I've ever run, is all about making sure that everyone's all set to go, has their character sheets ready. I jump into everyone's character sheet and help them get everything finalized and figured out if there's any issues. That's my advice for DMs. Hold a Session 0, but we knew this already. We've covered that a million times. But make sure you help players out with their sheets and get everything figured out. Note that I'm not blaming the DM for this, but just that that's a way to avoid things like this in the future. Well, that'll do it. Look, I made a video, everyone. I did it. Don't forget to like the video if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so, click on the bell notification icon if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video, and leave me your comments down in the comments section below. Did you guess what the tale of the blank character sheet meant? Brag about it, let me know. In addition, you can join the FoxyBard Discord server at discord.gg/FoxyBard. We're really active, we'd love to have you. And you can find me streaming over on Twitch now at twitch.tv/FoxyBardPlays and on Twitter at ThatFoxyBard. Last of all, a huge shout out to my patrons over on patreon.com/FoxyBard, whose names are scrolling by the screen right now. If you want to add your name to the list, head on over, and you can support me for as little as $3 a month. I love and appreciate every single one of them so much, and you help me keep doing the things that I do that you seem to like. I don't know why, but I'm not gonna question it. In fact, that's where we're gonna end the video.
Say the line, Foxy.
Okay. Let's douse the fire and get back to our own adventures.